And we're back here for the main event. Yes, Lou. Me and Lou are going over schedules here. Don't worry about it, folks. And everything. Because we were just talking because UFC's off July 4th week. We're going to be off that Thursday and Friday of July 4th week, definitely for travel. So it's like, hey, Lou, you're off that week as well because there's no UFC that weekend. Obviously, College World Series will be wrapped up, and we won't have football talk yet. So I was telling Lou he gets a week off. Lou's going to have to live without us for a week.
Actually, that's a big week for 10 minutes because I absolutely bet that hot dog eating.
Oh, that's true. We'll have to get some info from you, or maybe that's true. I'm going to make a note on that. July 4th hot dog week. Maybe we'll have to do maybe a Zoom thing or something and get your thoughts on that. Just a quick little 5-minute thing or something.
I don't know if Chestnut is in or Kobayashi or who's in and who's out, but I guarantee you it is parched as the news cycle is in sports right now. We'll hear about it shortly.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to make a note on that. We'll have to arrange something that week where we can put it out and your thoughts on the hot dog eating contest or something to that effect here coming up. But no, we're just talking schedule there. And, of course, every Thursday, most of the time, unless there's holidays or something, Uncle Lou does join us. Here you can find him as a VSIN contributor, making the rounds last week. I saw Lou on a lot of different programs last week as we were leading into that White House card. Of course, College World Series. Now, hockey's over. Carolina got the win. You thought Carolina would win that series and everything. Before we get into your intro and all that, what are your thoughts on the end of the hockey season?
What a great season it was. I just can't tell you how much I love the tournament that is hockey, and normally I call it the greatest tournament in the history of sport. But now I always footnote that with World Cup, and now with what I see happening in this World Cup here, I have to succumb. There's the World Cup, and then there's an ocean, and then we all compete again. And so in that competition, then there's hockey. It's a great playoff system. This year exemplified how, although Carolina was the best team, one of the best teams in the regular season, and they won it, it exemplified how winning a cup in hockey is a process. You rarely get a lightning bolt that comes through and wins it like you maybe can in a Super Bowl and a World Series, but in hockey, it's a process. I'm tickled for Brindamore. The last time Carolina won the cup, he was a player and won it. So he gets to win it as a player, then as a coach for his kids.
I saw a stat, not to interrupt you, but I saw a stat where he's the first one. Like, it happened a lot. It happened like 4 or 5 times in the 30s, 40s, and like in that 50s time
Maybe
frame.
From Montreal, they need a had a guy.
But a long time ago. And then, of course, then you run all the way up here to 2026, and obviously it's him now. So it doesn't happen. And that's an amazing stat in my eyes because you see a lot of Patrick Waugh, for instance, a lot of guys coaching or playing, win cups, and then they go and coach, and they don't, at least with the same team, they don't do it, which is a fascinating stat.
Yeah, and it also exemplifies how hard it is to win the dadgum thing. But you're right. The hockey season was great. I was very excited to be able, we put up, I think, a 24 or 25% ROI in hockey this year. And I was really happy about that because last year it went real bad. And I knew it was a fluke. We refined a few things. And when we talk about UFC, we'll talk about refining a few things because that's what I'm going to do after a pretty big week last week. I'm going to change the pace a little bit moving forward because I've got a little ground to close, but way less than it was 2 weeks ago. So hockey, great. We're tying a bow on it. Next year, couldn't even begin to tell you because I'm looking at College World Series.
But that's interesting. If I will look ahead at hockey just really quick. Is this an open year next year? Because we don't know what's happening in Edmonton. Are they going to rebuild? Are they going to go backwards? Toronto's always trying to figure it out.
Oh, forget about that. That's
Carolina, Tampa. There's a lot of question marks around hockey. Going into next year, there's Colorado's going to be good in the regular season, probably again. They usually are, but they have some question marks. And so the next year's hockey is going to be fun. Just as a side note, I know I'm not I'm not even well versed on this. But the Knights just hired their AHL coach, meaning the Henderson Silver Knights. They just hired that coach. What does that tell you about the Knights? As a handicapper and stuff. What are your thoughts when they go with a young guy? He's experienced as a head coach, but not at the NHL level. Instead of a big name guy, which the Knights have always gone out and signed, kind of a retread coach. It's like the first time they're going go with our young guy who's been done a good job down below. To me, that tells me they're tired of these retread coaches and kind of what they have to deal with and get rid of them every year and a half or whatever. But as a handicapper, does that say anything to you? I know it's next year, but does that pique your interest at all, or negatively or positively?
When
I
Don
stumped him.
when Don Shula drafted Dan Marino, I was like, Marino's going to be a superstar. Why? I could have thought that the day before, but I didn't. You know why? Because Shula didn't draft him yet. Once I saw Shula draft Marino, it was easy.
Yeah.
And so right now, the way I look at the front office of the Knights, a team been in the league 9 years, they've been to the Cup 3 times.
Yep.
I'm prone to watch and learn from them, not criticize. So I'm going to watch and
Yeah,
learn.
I'm not being critical.
No,
I find
I'm
it an
Well,
interesting move.
Well, I think your observation of they're not going the retread is spot on,
Yeah.
and they want to do. And I haven't been able to talk to enough of my Knight friends that are also in the press lately to get an understanding of who this guy is. But if that ownership group brought him in, there's a reason, and there was probably a reason he was where he was at, going to probably get the job
Well,
anyway.
that's what I.
When
That's
they
what I'm
hired
getting
Tortorella, they could have said, "We're going to hire this guy. You're
Yeah.
here till this."
at. Yeah, no,
It could easily have been that way.
It's like the first. It's the first time the Knights have done something where I've been like, interesting, what I mean by that is get rid of Cassidy, right? Tortorella comes in. You're like, oh,
Same guy.
that makes sense, yeah.
Kind of the
You know,
same guy.
And you're like, all right, retread guy in there before Cassidy, and same thing. Another longtime coach, I'm forgetting who it is right now. And he's there for whatever 2 years, gets
Gallant.
blown out and stuff to that. That's been the MO, and now they go, let's get our young guy who's doing really well coaching the AHL. Let's get him up here into a veteran team, no less. And it's an interesting move, and I tend to agree with you. Any other organization doing it, you kind of question it a little. With the Knights, you're like,
No.
these guys know what they're doing. Let's see what
Well, yeah,
happens.
but so does Tampa and Florida.
Yeah.
So does looks like Montreal. I've always given credit to Jersey for that, but they haven't shown that lately. The Rangers, there's some smart,
Yeah.
salty front offices. I mean, if you look at LA and Anaheim right now, next year those are going to be two big, strong, heavy, powerful teams.
You have the
And
right
they-
owner. You have the right owner, and you have the right ownership and the right GM that the ownership allows to do. You can turn things around quickly. It might not turn around quickly, but you can go in the right direction quickly. Like you said with the Kings, they can obviously improve. But they've turned around a lot over the last couple of years, and they even fired their coach this year. To try to make some more improvements and stuff. You're seeing more of those moves. So I don't know. It's just an interesting move there by the Knights. But there's a lot of question marks going into next year. And already what was an open year other than Colorado going into the playoffs. It's going to be fascinating to watch out there. But Lou, of course, you're here every Friday. No sneak peek this week. I just looked at the dates
I
wrong.
bumbled.
Well, because you were up late watching that UFC fight on Sunday.
The Sunday thing did really throw a monkey wrench into my whole week. And rather than stress over this card to get a sneak peek out, I thought I'd concentrate on my digital article, my webpage article, and just go, we missed sneak peek for this card, and really it isn't that entailed. I'm really looking at just taking about maybe 2 or 3 shots at this card and settling back, because I think there's a couple of shots in here. But right now it's UFC and then NFL prep. So I'm happy to be able to have a little more time to focus on UFC, though I spend an inordinate amount of time on it already. But this card will be a little more relaxing for me. And I'm hoping to,
For everybody, Lou.
I want to hit 2 or 3 of these and move ahead. So do we want to talk about last week?
Well, no, I tell you what, let's tell everybody where they can find you and everything, because you do have the new blog up, which I did find I usually find them interesting, don't get me wrong, but really interesting this week. You talked about that on there, so tell everybody where they can find you, where they find your blog, where they can find your podcast, etc. And let's do that first. And then I tell you what, let's talk college baseball first. With the World Series coming up, let's get that out of the way, because I do want to spend time on last week's fights.
Okay.
because it was just an epic event in the future of some of these guys that were in this event as well. So but tell everybody where they can find you first, Lou.
Gamblu.com. My name is Lou Finicaro. My webpage is gamblu.com. I'm so happy to have a webpage. And so it tells you everything about me as far as my focus on trying to derive profit from betting on sports. The sports I work are in the top band, and you can find out everything you need about any sport I work, just 4 of them right there. However, what Steve really allows me to do when I have 2 podcasts. We won't scroll down now, but you can get to my podcast on my webpage or wherever you listen to a podcast, and I do an opening line report almost every week. There's a fight card, and I do a about business podcast after the weigh-ins and before the fights that are my final releases. So the most important part of the web page is the top right corner where you see the San Xavier Del Bac mission, which is the oldest mission in the country and and of course Arizona. There's a nice photo of it, located south of Tucson, just a few minutes here in Arizona. They do really great work there. There's a link that connects you straight to them. We're supporters. We encourage you to take a look and consider if you can in this tough day and age. They're doing great work and can really benefit from any consideration. So Steve lets me mention that every week. Thank you.
Absolutely. Especially like if that's not the charity you want to support and you're able to find one to help people out in this with what we are, the world is like here these days as well, especially this summer with kids out of school and everything, extra stress on families with everything happening out there as well. And of course, Gamblu at Gamblu as well on X. You want to follow him on there as he puts stuff out during events and everything that you can capitalize on and take advantage of, or just look smart at the party you're at.
Well, some stuff you want to know and some stuff you may not want to know.
Yeah, you see something from Lou while you're sitting there and you just go, hey guys, here's something to think about on this next fight or whatever. And then you look like a genius. What's up, Lou?
Well, I was just going to say, following up on the hot dog contest.
Oh, yes. Do they have lines up?
It's on the 4th this year.
Okay.
Usually it takes place at like 9 or 10 a.m. Eastern because they want it cool before it gets too hot and humid and the buns absorb all the moisture. I'm telling you, it's goofy. But it's in the morning because when I watch, it's like 8 or 9. And I'm telling you, I sit there, I arrange the whole morning. I sit there and in 10 minutes it's over and I'm like, now what am I going to do? I hate fireworks. My dogs hate them and everything. So it's a 10-minute competition. Last year, the champion
he won it. What's his name? Won it.
Consumed 70 and a half.
Yeah.
How to watch? It's on ESPN or the ESPN app, and then there's ways to compete. So there's July 4th. So July 4th morning for me, that's some sacred stuff. I want.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. You and I are gonna have to conspire and see how we can do like a little blip on recording from you. Just giving us hints to look at this and stuff coming up on the 4th.
I'll tell you what I do right now. I mean, you're going to have like Chestnut and these other guys, or you're going to, get who will win without Chestnut. So
the field,
and you have over underdogs per each person, so you can do some researching and everything. I try normally what I'll try and do is what people do in the Super Bowl is I'll look at. As soon as it comes out, I'll record what each person's total is. And then I'll look and see what the numbers are. So if 45, let's say. So each guy's got 45, 45, 45. Here's a guy got 43. Whoa, there's opportunity. Yeah. Over 43, under 45. And play
So you play the 43, and then if it goes up to 45, 40,
no. If I can see the numbers, there's great variance from one sports book to another on this stuff.
Okay, you're talking about between sports.
So I'm looking to try and find 2 or 3 dog middle because
got to find advantage for the hot dog
is
contest.
A huge spread. If you're eating 50 dogs and you got a 3-dog spread, man, all of a sudden you're talking about 8%.
Yeah. Hey, eating 3 dogs makes me want to throw up.
Here's another thing I'll say. If you had me on that Diaz with all those guys next to Chestnut, and it was a race for 1 hot dog, I'd blow him out of the freaking water. That is absolute truth. You can print that, Kobe. One hot dog on your mark, get set, go. I mean, Scooby-Doo can't do it faster than me. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. Now that's it, though.
But when you get to 50, when you get to 50, 60, 70, you slow down? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, after one. It's over. It's just I got that one, and then that's it.
It's the dumbest holiday thing ever, but it's so much fun
and it's
to watch.
so American. It's so over the top. And the dude, this
They all
guy
have
Shay, that's the mic.
Yeah, he's got the stupid paper hat on. And,
it's just, it's so corny. It's so corny. Okay, so now we can get on to serious stuff.
I love it. Colors World Series, of course, gets underway Saturday. Game 1 Saturday. It's best of 3. Records don't matter at this point. I mean, it wouldn't matter anyway because neither one of these teams have lost. Coming into North Carolina's coming into this game against Oklahoma. You said it last segment. I was screwing it all up while you were talking to me and trying to give me the info. North Carolina's never won the College World Series. Oklahoma's won it twice over the years as well. Not that it matters to these teams at all, but interesting. Just shows you kind of the parity that's happened this year. Oklahoma, not even ranked in the SEC coming into this tournament. They beat their ranked teams in Texas, Georgia, and Alabama to get to this point. North Carolina's been pretty dominant all year long. I know you were high on them earlier when February with the future outlooks as well. Coming into this College World Series, I agreed it was either going to be. I thought the North Carolina West Virginia matchup was going to be kind of like the championship game. I kind of still feel that way, especially after watching North Carolina yesterday. But Oklahoma does something that does amaze me, and I didn't think they could do. And it's just they hit the snot out of the ball. They can do a lot of runs on you. They showed it yesterday as well. So here's my question for you on this breakdown, and you might have some more. Both of these teams have pitching. Both of these teams can score 12, 13 runs in a game. They've proven it all throughout the College World Series. Is this going to be one of those? Are we looking at 2 or 3 games of 13, 14, 13 type scores? Or are we looking like a 4-3 come from behind victory at the end or something to that effect? Pitching or hitting, and I know weather can come into this, pitching or hitting outlook from these two teams in the final 3 it's kind of my question to look forward to here coming up, Lou. But give us your thoughts.
My thoughts are that each College World Series tournament, not the regionals or the supers, the tournament, there is such a wind factor that by this point each year I'm bathing in profit and expounding on my greatness. This year there has been no wind factor blowing into the hitters. There's been light breezes blowing from like over towards right field, so the left-handed pull hitter would have an easy time getting one out. Or if you're going the opposite way, the wind's been kind of helping all week long. A couple of days there was heavy wind, but it was at the batters' backs, and so right now we're used to seeing these numbers be really kind of high based on that. And I'm all about Omaha wind, but today they don't play, and tomorrow they don't play. So to try and predict wind in Omaha 10 minutes ahead of time is tough. I ain't going to try it 2 days. But believe me, if you're following me, what I believe could happen is that by the time these championship games come, the north wind is here. And when the north wind comes, you're going to have a situation where you have a Carolina team that was here 2 years ago and is more veteran against an Oklahoma team that no one thought could be there's playing great baseball right now, hitting the cover off of the ball the last 6 weeks, but they are anchored with 3 freshmen as their starting pitchers. In this kind of a situation, I have to give the edge to the more veteran team. And so that's why the price is minus 190 plus 155 on the Oklahoma side. It should be really competitive, great game. I think the biggest, we know what we're getting with North Carolina. We're getting the machine. Mm-hmm. And so can Oklahoma keep their hitting alive through the 2 days off before this series starts? I guess that's my biggest question. Gamblu.com people have 22-1 North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so that's a big move. And clearly what you do now is you come back and put 10 units on Oklahoma and you walk away a winner any way you do it, and you ride off into the sunset. However, myself, I also have, listen to this, I got $10 to win 2 G's on Oklahoma to win it all, and
Really?
I have North Carolina already at the 22. So I'm in a position right now
Sit
where
back
I
and
make
enjoy it.
make a little bit more on the North Carolina side, so I'm going to up my Oklahoma side so that I basically take this close to the same amount no matter what, and I'll play each game by game. So that's where I like to be at the end of the College World Series now. The Gamblu webpage is really smart. We got North Carolina 22-1. Oh, by the way, we're also down 11 units. So I had other futures that have lost. I did for what did I say? 9 in the regionals.
Yeah.
I count that. I don't forget that. So I'm down 11. I got 22 on Carolina. I got to get out of this thing with profit, and that's what the futures often do for me in hockey and or in baseball. Getting a future team early. In North Carolina, we got February 9th. I posted that. So getting it early and getting lucky and having it come through can make up for a lot of missed ball games.
Absolutely. And then don't forget, I mean, read it. This is the first time the 8 team in the College World Series were teams that weren't there last year. First time it ever happened. So a lot of people missed in that
first
regional,
time
so.
since 1957 it hasn't happened.
That's
And
pretty much
Carolina
all.
was there 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years
And that
ago.
was part of my handicap. That's a veteran team. They remember.
So we're just thinking up to be champion, like you said, the numbers -190 for North Carolina, +155 for Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
Game 1 numbers. Now keep in mind,
Well,
we're
let
2
me
days
guess
out.
that because I haven't
Yeah.
seen those.
Okay.
Game 1 numbers, I'm going to say North Carolina -210.
No, it's actually very similar. -188 North Carolina, +145 Oklahoma. Now, I don't have the figures on this, but I'll tell you, on DraftKings, 100% of the bets have been on Oklahoma so far on DraftKings. That's what they're reporting.
People often consider DraftKings and FanDuel public places.
Yes.
And I think, to me, that's good info, but it's a snapshot of what the public is thinking.
It's the public number.
They just saw Oklahoma and
Well, Oklahoma +145 for just game 1. I mean, if you take the dog of that, and the way Oklahoma's playing, I don't tend to give Oklahoma a chance in this.
I think they're
but,
going to. The young freshman pitcher for Oklahoma, I think, is probably going to go.
Yeah.
And it traditionally in Omaha, there's also one other thing that happens. Guys, great pitchers throughout the history of college and Major League Baseball come to Omaha, and when they do get there, they lay an egg.
Yeah.
So having a freshman in this spot in game 1 of the finals, I have to fade that freshman based on my experience.
Even though I'm going to say what I don't normally like, even though he did go through that SEC, basically he went through the SEC twice, right? Conference play, the conference tournament, and then now, of course, just went through the SEC in the College World Series.
That's right.
He had to play, not him, he was only one. But, I mean, he's been in some big games against, obviously, the better competition.
No question.
With no sight on that. And even
and
then
he
you would
plays
tend
in
to
the
fade him.
SEC.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
So he's gone through the tough
Right.
SEC more so than anybody else has. And even then you would still say
more so
fade him a little bit?
because of what you just said.
Huh?
Because he's unstoppable, because everybody's got confidence in him, because he hasn't been challenged, he hasn't stubbed his toe. This is a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure ramps up, right, when you get to the championship
I'm just saying,
game.
and look what Gaethje did at the White House, man.
I don't know. We're going to talk about that.
You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid. And really, by saying that, Oklahoma's momentum is huge. So if those freshmen can keep the score low early and Oklahoma bats can get a lead, you can get North Carolina tight. And so that could happen.
The one thing that does give me solace on that angle, because I agree with you on that, is just North Carolina in the super regionals against SC. They have the ability to come back late in a game. They've shown that as well. That's why I just think North Carolina is, like you said, the veteran team, relaxed, been here before kind of a situation. Those teams, Goliath does get knocked off from time to time, and stuff. So it's going to be fascinating. I tend to not give Oklahoma a chance in this. But they honestly do have a chance.
They beat Georgia Tech. They beat Georgia. There's the 2 and 3 ranked teams in the country. What more do they got to do? I mean, they believe. They're a young team gelling at the right time that believes. So also, I love their coach. It's
Yeah.
been a great story.
You mentioned the 2 days off, from yesterday. They don't play a game till Saturday. I mean, that's how baseball. That's what college baseball is, though, right? Even super regionals ended, and then what? 4 days off until you got to the College World
Yeah,
Series
but you were
and
home
things.
on campus, and
Okay, so that's
now
a
you're
difference.
away. It's 10 days now. You're in Omaha, and not only that, all these freshmen and Oklahoma players haven't been there in 18 years. They're out looking at the sights and taking it in. There's mics in their face. North Carolina in the freaking gym, man. They're there to
Yeah.
win a ball game. They were here 2 years ago, got embarrassed in 3 games. They're here for it's a different thing. It's
Yeah,
a
okay,
different
that
thing.
makes sense because I would have just thought like that's what they do. They have a couple days off after a series.
Yeah, they go to the zoo
For the
and
day.
they
Yeah.
eat ice cream and they go to the
They go to-
children's hospital. They do great shit. Excuse me. They do some really fine
No tower here.
work.
We're good.
Kobe, I hope you got that.
No, there's no tower here. You can swear
Yeah,
if you
but
need
that,
to.
I don't do that on the air, folks. But what I'm being complimentary. They'll all go to the hospital.
Yes,
But I think that the more mature North Carolina team that was there and lost and had to go in 3 games 2 years ago, I
Yeah.
think that's really going to be the difference in the series.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, this was some of the games were duds. Like even yesterday, both games were kind of duds overall and stuff like that. But it's just even though they've been duds, you're seeing some great baseball being played by a couple of these teams. And this has been a kind of like the hockey, just kind of like the hockey playoffs. It's just you just sit back, enjoy the fun, enjoy what's happening out there, and whatever happens, happens.
So here's the approach. The approach is that come Saturday, at 6 in the morning, I'm going to get up and look at Omaha Wind for what time the game is.
It's 5 p.m. It's a night game.
I have a windometer at the airport. Okay, and the airport's just a mile away, 2 miles north of the stadium. So I know where the wind is and what direction, and it'll be based on that. My aspirations are that these games are going to be priced like they've been on the totals at 13 and a half. And if I can get that wind in, I'm gonna make aggressive positions on unders. But the wind has to be right. And if it's an 11 and a half, then I actually have to work. I want an easy number, not a correct one.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But that's my approach. My approach is I'm hoping for wind in the teeth for the finals because the market isn't prepared for that. Everybody's hypnotized and thinking that the wind's a non-factor now. Well, it's going to be a factor if I can just get it to blow the right way.
What does it say about it being now it's 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. our time, game 1 on Saturday.
So that's 7 in Central Time. Okay.
7 Central, yep. So it's night game, obviously. The weather's different at night when the sun goes down compared during the day. But then game 2 is a middle of the day game, 2:30 Eastern, so 1:30 Central Time there as well. For that, completely different playing conditions there going into that. Does that favor one of these teams?
No, because Oklahoma and North Carolina, it's going to be really hot and humid on that Sunday, the second day, and it's going to be sticky. And if you're sitting in the third base seats, man, you're going to be uncomfortable. But the players in both of those teams that are used to humid weather, I see no real issue. But you got to figure the thunderstorm threat, and this is Tornado Alley and tornado season in Omaha, and so you just got to watch. But to me, Uncle Lou's a meteorologist. Come Saturday morning, I'm going right to Willie Weather, baby, and I'm going to check it out and see if I can't find a quick and early advantage there.
Yeah, it's just interesting how they do a night game, early day game, basically, an afternoon game. And then if there is a game 3, another basically an afternoon game, 4 p.m. our time, so 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. on that. So it's not, can't get consistent. Plus, I mean, think about it from game 1 to game 2. I know they're college kids, but lack of rest between those two. Not for the pitchers, obviously.
No, that's what these 2 days are. That's what these 2 days are. They're getting everybody charged. Not only that, Oklahoma and North Carolina both came from winners brackets. They've only played 3 games each.
That's the thing. Yeah.
They're all both 3-0. They're both fresh. They're both ready. They got no excuses.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It starts Saturday as well for that. Coming up, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. Oklahoma surprises me at all going into this. I tend to favor North Carolina winning this, but there's so many factors, and like you said, the young kids with Oklahoma are impressive.
Let's just go through the times, okay? So the time Saturday is 7 p.m. Central on ESPN. So it's 5 o'clock. And then the Sunday game is 11:30 Pacific time.
Yes.
It's 1:30 Central. So that's a little that's morning. That's going to be height of sun.
Yeah, right overhead. And then keep in mind, it's not like they just walk out on the field at 2:30 or 1:30 their time to play. They're out there warming up
That's another
in
good
the sun
point, too.
already, and
Right.
batting practice and stuff to that. So they've been there for how many hours now working out? The humidity, like you talked about, for that day game after a night game. Is that like you said, Oklahoma,
Nah.
North Carolina? They're used to that weather, so I don't think it's
They're
going to do it.
20-year-old kids,
but
man.
I know.
They could play at
I
3
think
in
of
the
it.
morning and you could have fans on them, man. They're ready to go.
That's why I wanted to ask you, like, if there's
Yeah.
any chance that would have any
It's-
influence on it.
Weather's
as
the
well.
same on both teams. The biggest difference is the maturity in the pitching staffs, in my opinion.
All right, perfect. So that's College World Series this weekend. Let's take our break. We'll come back. We will look at basically talk about the 7 matches from the White House card. There are some, not just the matches themselves, but the future of some of these guys after those fights. We'll talk about that, and of course, Meta Apex this weekend. A little bit. There are some name guys on this card that I recognize, so it's not an obscure Apex card, but an Apex card does mean there's people that I have no idea who they are. Lou will fill us in on that this weekend as well. So come on back. Main event with Uncle Lou. Hopefully.
Right.
Hopefully it will. And that puts me at an older age there, Lou, if I have to do
My
that.
age.
Welcome back to the main event. We're just having some fun during the breaks here as well. But this weekend, of course, UFC action coming up at the Meta Apex. But first, I mean, what a card last week here at the White House. I know we look and talk about fights back then, but this was, in my eyes, just a different card, a special card that occurred there at the White House last week with the way some of these guys won in this fight. Just your overall thoughts here of the White House experiment that happened.
I saw Rogan today in all the web pages that pertain to MMA that he said it was the greatest fight card in the history of fight cards.
Might not be wrong.
Yeah, no, I totally.
And I haven't
totally
been doing
agree
it
with
that
him.
long as you, Lou.
I
but,
totally agree with him, and now I'm gonna say things that I believe. I know that half of the people that hear this are not gonna like it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be political. I keep that away from everything. However, I thought the combination of Dana White and Trump bringing forth the magnitude and degree of U.S. patriotism and pride was something that was not only needed, they did it just to the T. It couldn't have been a better production, a more professional production, and the fact that these fighters were coming down with first responders, police people, service people,
walking out of the White House, Lou.
The focus of the event was the heroes that went before us that have paved the way for this country to enjoy an event like this. I just couldn't be so more proud to be an American at that. And I am confounded at those that don't think of it like I do, but I do recognize that we all don't have the same thoughts and ideas. I get that. What makes us American is I get to have mine and you get to have yours, and we go from there. So you asked, and I just thought I couldn't have been prouder that night to be an American as well. I couldn't have had a better night gambling, even though I started out my first fight, Stevie Garcia. He had it going. He just needed to stay level-headed, but oh no.
Second round, but it turned quickly on him with Lopez, man. I mean, it
turned because Stevie said, I'm going to stand with you instead of keep distance and using that jab.
But I put a tweet out when that fight happened. Of course, delayed for about, 45 minutes because of storms rolling through the area and stuff. And so I actually tuned into that fight a little bit into the first round, not realizing it had already started. And even then, I was like, oh, this is a good evenly matched. And I mean, it went quick where it went toward Lopez. But if that's the way you want to start a fight card, I'm okay with that every day of the week. That was an unbelievable fight to begin with. Lopez getting that KO, of course, and his hair's all flopping around. It just cracks me up a little bit.
He's a fade, man. He's a pure fade.
Is he?
He's a pure fade.
Yeah, because
he's dangerous. He gets hit in both of his John Silva in this one. He's getting beat. He's
Yeah.
getting tagged. He starts
He does.
slow, and then the other fighter makes a mistake, and Lopez, who has power and willingness, finds him. Okay,
Yeah.
live by that sword, die by
Yeah.
that
Well,
sword.
his last fight, he broke both his feet. He ended up losing that because he got beat up pretty bad, and then he broke both of his feet in it, and was still able to finish it. I think that's what his toughness is. What I like about him,
dude's a warrior.
and stuff like that. It's
He's
amazing.
he's a
Yeah.
Mexican. Well, first of all, he's a Brazilian, but he trains in Mexico. To me, the Mexican fighter, there's nothing tougher. Period.
Yeah, and he's definitely one of those guys. But that's how the night gets started there.
Yeah.
Then you go to Bo Nickel and
A finish, by
Dawkins
the
there.
way.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Well,
Every fight,
all of them.
Every fight a finish.
All of them. And the way some of these finished, you were just like, that shouldn't be allowed on the White House grounds. That was just a brutal. We haven't seen that since the American Revolution back in the 1800s, Lou.
Oh, look at Steve
look at that.
pressing some history on
I
us.
don't even know. Somebody's going to go, it was the American Revolution. Was that? And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Right.
You get what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
Bo Nickel and Dawkins here battling it out. KO again. I took Nickel fight to start round 2. And about 35 seconds into this fight, I went, that's the loser. And it ended up being it. Round 1, KO there for Nickel.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on Nickel?
Yeah, he did what he was supposed to do. Remember, we had Nickel, Hokett,
Yes.
O'Malley, Gaethje, 13-1. So that one there was the closest one, and Nickel was 3 1/4. So that's the one that maybe gave people the most trepidation, but not really, because Daukaus isn't to Nickel's level. Nickel was there. He's a friend of he plays golf with President Trump. Come on. There were setup fights on this card, and the 3 I just mentioned were setup fights, and we were set up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just like, oh, this will go to round 2 before you finish him. Not even close on that one. Then you got Hoofy against Michael Chandler in this one, round 1. They at least gave us most of the first round here before the knockouts happened. But Hoofy getting that to win there. Just my big question on these ones here, setup fights, like you said, and things. Anything change your mind about any of these guys that are knocking out, like Hoofy against Chandler at all?
The only thing that changed my mind is that I'm an idiot for taking a small piece on Chandler, who just simply refuses to fight with any IQ. He's 40. He should be out. God bless him. He's a great dad and family man. I wish him all the best, but get him out of the organization. He fought a terribly stupid fight, and you don't fight Hoofy like that, or you're going to end up in the same situation.
Gonna end up knocked down. Derek Lewis. My fears about Derek Lewis were pretty obvious at the beginning of this fight against Hokett. Hokett here in this one, just a complete mismatch. Lewis he's just not physically fit. I don't think he knows what a treadmill is. Stuff like that. But
well, he never has. He's never had to, but he's 40 now. He's relied on his power. He was there as a setup for Hokett. He got his job done. Hokett got his job done. So then now we got Nickel. Now we got Hokett. Yep. Then we go to the next.
Then you got Sean O'Malley, local kid, of course, fights up there and trains up there at the MMA lab for Sean O'Malley against a hobby. I wasn't a big fan of O'Malley 4 or 5 fights ago now or so. Just wasn't a big fan of his, but man, he's won me over with the way he's been fighting lately. This is a kid that could have just hung it up and gotten money and gotten out of this fight game as a rich man. But he wants this, and he's still working on his game, which actually impresses me a lot.
Well, he first of all, he trains at Red Hawk with Tim Welch, which is a complex that's on, I believe, the O'Malley compound in West Phoenix that he purchased. He's still friends with the lab, and they interact quite a bit, which is great. And I'm not that I'm trying to correct you.
No, you're right. I forgot he has his own place.
Accurate for Tim Welch and Sean.
He used to be up in MMA lab.
He used to be at the lab, and they're great friends still. They get along well. Of course, John Crouch at the lab, he's a pro. But this was another clear mismatch. This was a setup fight. O'Malley knew that. He was asking for Petr Yan. Yan didn't want any part of him.
He's asking afterwards.
Yeah, so he liked the fight. Where's Yan? Come on, man. And yet Davalishvili deserves another crack at Yan. So, the champ's enjoying everybody screaming for him while he eats grapes and, sits in the Mediterranean. In the meantime, O'Malley's looked great. I mean, you got Sean O'Malley, Kyler Phillips, Mario Bautista, and Marcus McGee, all in the lab, all top 15 rated 135 pounders. It's really a great gym. These kids are all great. And O'Malley is really the superstar. You're right. He makes more money like making a tweet or
Yeah,
doing
he does all that stuff.
he doesn't have to, but he's a scrapper and he's a competitor. And if you saw the guys that were with him on the night of the fight, Tim Welsh was one, the red-haired manager, and then there's this other short, little, squat, dark-haired guy named Taquino, and he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu savant that has been training and kicking Sean O'Malley's ass for probably 8 years now, teaching him the grappling and some, not necessarily wrestling, but the BJJ, and no one ever sees it because O'Malley stands up. But if he ever has to use it, he's very equipped. Now he's not equipped against Davalishvili or Jan. He's not a Russian vice grip, but he's more than well equipped to take care of most everyone else in that capacity. So don't underestimate O'Malley. Yeah. He looked good. Zahabi is a good, solid, great young fighter. Had a great opportunity, got a payday, but he was overmatched.
Well, so does that look negatively on Zahabi now moving forward, or is it just you went up against a better guy and now we're still going to get opportunities? He's not looked down negatively on that. I thought his effort was fine. He just got beat by a guy that
a ranked top three guy.
Just better than
Zahabi gets another fight now, and we'll see. He needs to bounce and win.
Like I said, my main thing on Sean O'Malley is when I first saw him, like I said, 4 or 5, and then a couple fights after, it was like this kid's just, he wants to fight, he wants the money, but his heart's not in it. I don't want to be negative about it, but it just didn't look like he worked hard. Now it just looks like he's in the gym constantly, like you said,
he's a pro.
Working on the other side. He's actually improving now and he wants the best guys and he wants to work hard to fight those guys. Almost like, he had that natural talent and now he goes, well, now I know what it takes to fight those guys.
And he's 31 in his prime.
Yeah.
And right? Zahabi's 38. So, what's he got? Another fight or two, and then that's it. So O'Malley's got a lot ahead of him.
My big question here for the Alex Pereira and Gane fight here is, and I heard afterwards, Pereira was asking a lot of questions in the pre-fight meeting with the officials on, elbows to the back of the head type of questions and stuff to that effect. You heard that afterwards, but during the fight, how can you elbow a guy in the back of the head repeatedly and not be a penalty?
Well, you got, Pereira believes it was the back of the head. Herb Dean, the ref, doesn't feel that way. Now you got other refs criticizing Herb. You got Pereira wanting to protest the fight. What I can say is that the camp that Gane's in at MMA Factory in Paris seems to have trouble in every fight, mostly with eye pokes. But Gane has a history of back of the head elbows, and so this plume is stinking up that fight a little bit. At the end of the day, it'll dissipate and blow away.
Pereira wasn't winning that fight regardless, I don't think.
Who's to say? But Gane shouldn't be underestimated. For the minute he was in with Aspinall, he looked great, and for that minute and a half he was with Pereira, he looked pretty good. He's big, he's strong, he's deft, he's getting power, and he pokes guys in the eye, so he might have just too many advantages going on. Yeah. That said, eventually there's going to be a fight with enough plume around it where they're going to watch him, and we'll see what happens. But he's the champ right now until they get Aspinall rematched with him, and that's the way that one's going to be. Yeah. So lucky for me, I smelled that one 3 weeks ahead, which is why we had each side to win money based on parlays leading into it. I knew that fight had too many unknowns to bet it with any certainty. That said, at the end of the day, I did lean to the legit heavyweight Gane, and he did win.
Yeah, and I was impressed with him, other than, like I said, just a little bit. You could argue some of those elbows were the side of the head, but they were close enough where, the needs protection. If you want to, it just drives me nuts when people talk about safety, and you're watching that happen, and you're like.
Well, the other thing I'll say is, you know what? If you're a UFC fighter, don't be with be on your hands, knees, and elbows like this on the ground, leaving the back of your neck is the only thing exposed.
That is
That's
that
a
is a good
passive
point.
position.
Yeah, that is a good point. Then you got the main card here, Tapuria and Gaethje. Of course, man, I'm never going to talk bad about Safford, Arizona anymore here. I'll just put it this way: Gaethje's last two fights have been impressive. The way he's fought these fights, even though he was coming in with the belt, people obviously were not respecting him. I know you were, Lou, but everybody was going the Tapuria type of way, and the way he beat up Tapuria was just a masterclass in my eyes. Just went after him, kept going after him, to where Tapuria had zero answers. And Tapuria hadn't fought for how long before this fight? Like, it'd been a long time that he had last fought. So I find it interesting, the lack of respect Gaethje got going into this fight. Let's put it that way.
By the whole of the community. They were just throwing palm leaves in Tupuria's path and announcing him as the unbeatable king because they know so much about mixed martial arts.
He even said first round knockout. Like, he was even confident about it.
He has his celebrations for the wins of the fight the night before the fight. I mean, if you looked at how they were going into it, Tupuria, smug, cocky little guy, and Gaethje standing there in the White House reading the Independence. An American kid, all-American kid, had his family there. All he wants to do is go there and win for America. He knew he represented America. Never was the card stacked so perfectly for Gaethje outside of the time he fought Tony Ferguson. That's another story. But here he is, and he gets his, and he used, it was 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. The left jab is what took Tupuria's right. Early on, you saw him do this. He was all freaked out, and it was the jab. And when Tupuria got a little worried about the jab, Gaethje came with that right.
The right hand.
And then he damaged the other, so the left side of Tupuria's, both of his eye sockets are broke. His nose is broken. He's got a crack on his jaw. Gaethje beat the brakes off this smug little Spaniard, and I couldn't be happier because I didn't like the kid. I don't like that kind of approach, and I'm really, I had Holly Holm when she took Rousey, and I had this one. But I also have to say that I've taken long underdogs before, and then I cry to myself for 3 weeks. Why would I take such a terrible? So I've lost on some. I don't want to get too carried away here because there really is no gloating allowed. But if Gaethje at 5-1, I mean, we had him 6-1 inside the distance. That made that parlay 13-1. That forgives a lot of sins, baby, when you hit a 13-1 or so.
Yeah, absolutely. He ended up closing plus 380 before this fight. So.
On the straight, but
on the straight,
but
not the
distance,
distance.
He's got a little more, maybe 500,
which is what you had
whatever.
said from that side. But it's just anytime you get, like you said, the cockiness, a champion there, and just the dismantling of Topuria in this fight. Gaethje took hits, man, and I liked his comment afterwards. He goes, "You should study this face," because he looked like he wasn't even touched. He was hit hard in this fight. A lot, and his face didn't show it at all.
Yeah,
and then you look across the aisle, Tupuria's face is just...
He didn't get hit in the face that hard. What hurt Gaethje in the second round is that body attack, and Tupuria made a fatal mistake when he had him hurt, and Gaethje put his left elbow down and went down to the right side here. Tupuria tackled him and got on top, and that allowed Gaethje to recover through the round and come back for 3. If Tupuria backs off and makes him stand up and goes back to bodies, he could have finished the fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I thought Gaethje might have been done in that second, the way he was reacting.
That's
to
how
those body
tough that
shots.
dude. If you've ever taken a liver shot, you know how real they are. He fought through that. I'm telling you, the dude was not going to be denied in the White House long.
Yeah. I saw a slow-mo of one of Gaethje's knees to Tupuria's side.
Yeah, that cracked 3 ribs.
Oh, my goodness. The ribs were like halfway across his body.
He has 3 cracked ribs, yes. That's from that knee.
He's still fighting, and it's like I saw the slow-mo of it. The question I have on this fight, obviously, Gaethje, he's just impressed me with who did he fought the British guy the last fight. Paddy, yep. And beat him. And just kind of the same thing where just, the other guy, like literally it's the old adage of
marked him up.
You should see the other guy, right? It's just unbelievable. And Gaethje is just unassuming in the way his power. You see visceral reactions from his opponents when he connects on them, and he connects on them a lot to where they react. Almost to the fact where they're surprised at the power that's just connected with their face
Well,
and
you
things.
saw
That's an
his
amazing
size
thing.
difference
Oh
against
yeah.
Topuria.
Well, that's the thing. Taporia came down to fight in this.
No, he was a
Oh, he went up.
45 champ.
Okay.
He went up because he's
He went up.
Mr. Freaking,
Okay.
you know,
But
can't get beat guy.
my question on this is obviously Tapuria's eyes were just jacked up. In one round, they said he can't see out of his eye. They asked him. He says, "I want to continue." They bring the medical out. The doctor does his things and goes, "Nope, nope, nope." And the doctor got talked into allowing that fight to continue.
No, he didn't. The
Okay.
rules state that the referee has the call
Final one?
and the
Okay.
final call. There is no other call. The ref decides. The doc can go in.
So they
there
don't
and
listen
do
to the
anything
doctor
they
at all?
want.
Okay.
The final call is with the ref.
Yeah, because that was bad. It's not a good look when the doctor's like, "This ain't happening."
Two doctors are like,
Yeah,
oh,
and then
man.
they're like, "All right,
All right,
continue on."
let's go.
But they did have an interesting point on the broadcast as well that added an extra minute of rest time between rounds. So even though I don't think they should have continued it, but then they gave him extra time to recover to come back
To
in
take
and
more
be.
beating.
Yeah, well, that's what ended up happening.
That's
but
right.
that's also where that kind of like, well, that's also kind of so. Forget about fighting in that injured state, but then also the extra rest time while they're trying to decide. To me, it's either you're ready to fight or you're not. There shouldn't be a minute-long discussion about it
Yeah.
on the other side. But there's no
I had
controversy after the
Gaethje,
fight
so
on that.
I wasn't nervous.
Yeah, exactly right. Fantastic fight, 7 cards, all knockouts. It's just unbelievably built card there in that, and we don't see cards built like that in the UFC too often. Like I said, it's probably the best one I've ever seen, and stuff like that. And 'cause usually you have a fight or two where you're like, all right, I'm going, like you said, make a sandwich,
Well,
whatever.
seven fights different than 12 fights.
Well, that's the other side of it. Yeah, the lesser of a card.
We got
there.
12 this week. We had 7 last week.
Yep. Which this week we come back to Las Vegas, the Meta Apex. Coming up Saturday, go back to Saturday fights again. And it was weird having that on a Sunday night. I'll admit. I was like, wow, this is weird. But Saturday night here, 5 p.m. is the main card here in this Meta Apex fights. Preliminaries, a lot of guys. I've recognized a couple of these fighters in the preliminaries. I just don't remember if they're good or something I should choose into here. Aswell Jr. is a guy we've seen before, a big favorite coming into this. But I'll leave it up to you here, Lou, on the prelims. Which one of these should we tune in and pay attention to, if any?
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 are Collins and Tanzilovi. That's debuters, so I'll watch and learn. Shabazzian and Chokeli. Chokeli, the Russian vice grip's a huge favorite. Shabazzian is the brother to the other Shabazzian that we saw Brendan Allen, part of our parlay into Gan, win with a few weeks ago. So I'll watch those fights.
So he's a brother. He's a brother. Obviously, not dare I say, not as good of a fighter.
Well, it took
his
him
brother?
longer to get into the UFC.
That's what I want. Okay.
So, but he's here, and we'll see what he does against his vice grip wrestler from Russia. Carol Rosa, Luana Santos, 2 Brazilian girls coming up to Vegas. Luana Santos, gal that likes to submit opponents, and Carol Rosa, a girl that has been subbed before. But the experience advantage goes to Rosa. That's a sandwich fight. Then you mentioned Aswell, Texas kid coming in off a loss against Bolanos. Now, what I like about this fight is Aswell's 8 years the younger man. As well, he's been fighting at 145. Bolanos has had a hard time making 35, so he's moving from 35 to 45, while Aswell is used to fighting guys that weigh 160, because a 145-pound guy comes to the fight the next day 160, 162. So Aswell's used to that power, strength, and adversity, and it could be a lot for Bolanos. Yeah, Bolanos might have fleet-footedness as an advantage. We'll see. But I kind of like Aswell here, but I don't like the price.
Yeah.
So that makes me either figure I use him in a parlay or maybe inside the distance. We'll have to see some unknowns in that fight because of the move up for Bolanos.
The really quick, he's minus 425 Aswell is. Over under on this fight, 2.5, minus 166 to the over. And you mentioned a possible inside featherweight bout here, finish could happen,
No,
possibly? No, not at
no,
all?
not
Okay.
especially after hearing the number. It
Okay.
makes me even more tepid on the
Okay.
fight. Next fight, Raposo and Nascimento. Raposo is smaller, faster, quicker, coming in with momentum, but Nascimento's size is one thing. He does have to travel in from Brazil. This is a fight that I want Raposo. I like him as a dog. I may take him on the points. We'll have to see weigh-ins and what happens when I release the About Business podcast. But this looks like it could be a points matchup. What's the total?
Uh,
2.5 over what?
The total rounds, over 2.5, minus 195 to the over.
That's right. So he's going to go to decision. If I can get Raposo in 3.5 at a plus price, I may look at it.
Yeah, right now he's plus 3.5, minus 120. The minus 3.5 is minus 110. So you think?
No, that's to the other guy though.
I'm sorry, yeah, to the other guy.
I'm
but,
not interested in the other guy.
yeah, so the minus one. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. So
I'm
minus
interested in
120.
Raposo.
You could see. You think that number could possibly go positive? Isn't that a big movement?
No, I don't think
Yeah.
you can. They don't want you to take that. That's
Okay.
why we're going to probably take
Okay,
it.
gotcha.
Next fight, Mosquita and Mullins. Mullins is an English fighter that likes it on the ground. Mosquita is a striker from Brazil. No clue what's going to happen here. Mosquita's huge favorite.
600 right now.
Yeah, maybe Mosquita decision. I don't know. That again.
Well,
if there's really two fights down here, I'm interested in.
Really quick, over unders 1.5 for this ladies fight, minus 154 to the over, but it's only 1.5. Caught my eye.
Yeah, because they believe Mosquita is going to finish her.
Yeah.
She's minus 670.
Minus 600 on DraftKings.
There you go.
Yeah, so you see your number.
That's
yeah.
what they're thinking.
All right. And then you got Andre Lima and Kevin Borjas.
That's
Another
the
big
main
favorite.
card now.
Oh, it is?
Now we're
Okay.
jumping up to the main card.
That's fine. Let's do it.
Yeah, and these guys are. This fight is. I have to see what is this a bantamweight fight?
They have it listed as on the U.S. Flyweight bout is what they have on the.
So it's
UFC
125. Okay, that's what I needed. So Boras been fighting at 25. Lima's dropping to 25. So Lima's a finisher and a bad hombre. And for him to move down, if he makes weight, good. I'll be watching that on the scale. If he makes weight well, he's going to carve Boras up. And that's why the price is what it is. That said, if Lima comes looking a little drawn and gaunt, maybe Boras points. But I've been stung on him before. He's a little bit inactive and hesitant to throw Lima position, but the price makes it tough to play.
The over-under on this is 2.5 to the over, minus 130. So, they're at least saying could be a decision fight here as well. The points on this one, because I don't always understand the point side of it, for Borjas, plus 7.5 points here, minus 105.
Right.
So what does that mean? Help me out with that, because I don't understand that. I usually see 3.5.
That means if it goes to scorecards, you're getting 7.5 points with Boras.
Okay.
And what that basically means is if you're betting Lima and you don't want to pay minus 650, what's his price?
Minus 130.
That's you sure make his price easy. And I would think he finishes Boras. If Lima steps on the scale in the first 15 minutes tomorrow morning, looks good, and at 125, then he could be an inside the distance guy.
Okay. Yeah.
Points. Give the 7 points.
Take the points.
And
right?
it's not going to go to a decision.
Yeah, and you win it. You win it with the finish, right? Correct.
Yes, sir.
So on that, I'm gonna one of these days I'm gonna fully understand. Every time I think I understand it, they throw a wrinkle like that in my face.
Yeah, I've been playing them for a long time, and there's
bear with me at
benefit.
home. I'm a novice with this stuff for you
However,
new people out there.
Again, if you see a 1.5, then you want to give the points or consider that. But when you're seeing a 2.5 or something to the over, then you want to look and see what the points are if you get them. Because if they're telling you that it's a 2.5 over minus 300, if they're telling you they think it's going to decision, and you can find an underdog plus the 3.5 or 5.5 at a plus price, and you think they're going to show up, it's a good consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. So next up, we got Oliveira, and then Andre. Is this touchy-feely that we got here?
Yeah, this is Vinicius Oliveira and Andre Touchy-Feely, one of the great names in UFC. And Touchy-Feely been in the organization 12, 15 years. Very experienced, fighting out of Sacramento. It's now at Syndicate MMA. He can wrestle. He's got size. In his last fight against the MMA lab guy, Delgado, Delgado was taxed to have to win that fight. Feely fought maybe the best fight I've ever seen him fight. If he brings that fight to this fight, he's a lot to handle. And in Oliveira, we've got a guy that the coach, John, at MMA Lab has prepared two of his fighters to fight against Vinicius. One, Kyler Phillips, the second one, Mario Bautista, within the last year. So he knows Vinicius well. We've talked about this fight. And just suffice it to say, Vinicius is moving from 35 to 45. And at 135, it isn't that he's that skilled, but he's lightning fast. It isn't that he's very precise with his punches, but he's wild and crazy. And so he's got a lot to learn, and he's moving up against a heavy veteran, moving up weight. Feely's used to fighting guys at 162. Vinicius just a bully. This is a great, great spot for Andre Touchy Feely.
What was the opening number on this? Right now on DraftKings, Oliveira's minus 310. Feely's plus 250. Has the line moved a ton on this one?
Yeah, it opened Vinicius minus 350, Feely plus 285.
So it's moving Feely's way.
A little bit.
Yeah, tiny bit. Yeah, tiny bit into that. Then you got a featherweight bout here between an Armenian and a Kazakhstan fighter here, battling it out here with Magomedov. And we'll call him Melsik B.
Melsik Bagdasaryan. Bagdasaryan is a pillow-handed fighter at 145 that's 34 years old, hardly fights, and after this fight will probably be out of the organization. He's fighting the kid Magomedov, is a Russian off the Contender Series, comes a huge favorite. He's a finisher, uses that vice grip wrestling, 8 years younger. Magomedov turned the page.
Then you got Hyder Amil and Christian Rodriguez, a featherweight bout here in this one.
Another featherweight bout. You know, all these
these
Apex fights are under 170. There's only 2 of the 12 above 170. So we're getting small kids at the Apex, and it makes sense. Anyway, Amil and Rodriguez. Rodriguez is the younger guy by 8 years, 28 years old. And so he's got feet, he's got wrestling, he's well-rounded, he's very good. But he enters after losing his last 2, one to Feely, one to Costa, one against Basha a few fights ago. Amil also has lost his last 2, and one of them was to Delgado at the lab. But Amil, at 36 years old, has said that his last 2 fights were affected by some kind of health malady. And so he's coming out here focused. I've heard that if I had a nickel every time I heard that, I'd be Warren Buffett. But that said, I like Amil a little bit here. He rarely gets to be the bigger guy in a fight. He's going to be the bigger, stronger guy here. And Rodriguez, though he has a wrestling game, if Amil can keep this standing, I think he can touch Christian Rodriguez up. I like Amil here a little bit.
Yeah, right now, Amil's plus 154 on the line. Over-under is 2.5 minus 175 to the over in terms of the total rounds. Just based off of what you had said there, mentioned that.
Yeah, they see a competitive. It sets up to be a competitive fight. You know, a very competitive fight. Again, what's Amil points?
Amil points is probably plus 3.5 minus 145.
They don't want you taking that one either.
Yeah, they want you to run from.
So maybe you take that and parlay it with our boy Raposo in both points, and you hope for close decisions.
You get those decisions. Then you got Cutelaba and Navajo Sterling here in another light heavyweight bout here on this card.
Yeah, Ian Cutelaba, very experienced Moldavian fighter, and he comes out painted green like the Hulk. When he was younger, now he's just a good fighter, and he's in it now to stay in the organization and keep earning. So he takes his career seriously. However, he's in against a guy going to be 3 inches taller, 4 years younger, and have 4-inch reach advantage over him. Sterling comes in from Australia, so he's going to have size. And I think Cutelaba here going to try and submit Sterling, and Sterling going to try and keep it standing, which is Cutelaba's got some power, but he'll be the shorter guy trying to enter the pocket. There's a reason Sterling is the favorite here. I do like Cutelaba a little bit on the price. If I were to take him, it would be maybe bubblegum money on a Cutelaba finish. But he should be the underdog, and I see why Sterling's favorite.
Yeah, plus 245. Over under on this one's 1.5, minus 210 to the over. here for this fight.
Yeah,
as
they
well.
think Sterling can finish Kudalaba sometime after the middle of the second round.
And then, of course, you've got the main card here as well.
Fight.
You've got Kopp against Hiraguchi.
There you go, Horiguchi. Very good. So Horiguchi and Kopp, this is a rematch from a fight from some years ago when Kopp came into the organization. He was very green and young, highly athletic, but not very skilled and doesn't know how to fight. Horiguchi read him the riot act and won a decision. Spin it now, a few years later, and rather than Horiguchi being at his prime age-wise, now he's 35 when he was 26 in the first fight. Kopp, who was then 23, now 32, in his prime. Kopp's faster, stronger, got more power. Horiguchi is well-rounded. He's got a longer career. He has been in with the same kind of fighter, so he's not afraid. But the rematch, and Kopp, in my opinion, is the top 125er in the organization. He just shows up sometimes with dubious IQ, and he doesn't always come focused. Well, if he doesn't come focused for this rematch, there's no fight he's ever going to come focused for. And my handicap is if he comes focused, it's going to be a close fight for 2 rounds. And then in the third round, the athleticism, the movement, and Kopp's striking is just going to wear down Horiguchi, who's going to have a hard time finding and navigating his way in close to try and grab hold of him or fight him from the inside, which is what he's going to have to do. And so I like Kopp a good deal in this fight. I released him earlier in the week at -140.
I think on your blog
50.
you had him at, I have it right here.
Yeah, what I have.
-155 is what you
55.
released him
What's
at.
he now?
Right now he's at -155 on DraftKings, so still
same
playable
price.
for you out there at that number.
Yeah, I like Kopp a good deal in this fight, especially at that price.
Interesting enough, like in your blog, you had 4.5 rounds over -135. It's over 4.5 at -125 right now, but the under 4.5's 105 is at -105. So they don't know.
No, it's going on. They see it's typical 125 fight. Just bet the over, and you're going to win money.
Right off the bat.
They go those fights even in the small cage. That's still like 2 flies in a mason jar. So.
Yeah, a lot, like you said, I noticed that in your blog this week. That's why you should read the blog, folks, along with listening to the Sneak Teep and, of course, Bout Business podcast here. Like I said, has it always been? I don't think I've noticed it before. I know there's generally smaller fighters in an Apex fight with a smaller cage, but there's some bigger guys usually into this. Is the Apex normally just smaller guys?
It's a good question, and I've addressed it recently in my articles. No, they used to try and keep it exciting by getting big guys there, but you get 2 polar bears in a phone booth, all they do is slow dance, and so they found it to be counterproductive. So they try. It looks like over the course of the last 6 weeks, anyway, we've had 2 Apex cards. Both of them have been loaded with smaller fighters. We'll see if the trend continues.
Yeah, it's interesting. I read that in your thing, and I went, I remember a big guy, because I remember a couple big fights where, like you said, they're just leaning against each other at one point, and they weren't moving and stuff to that effect. So interesting how even the UFC is trying to finagle this for, we'll say, entertainment purposes.
They're so profitable at that facility that they'd be stupid not to keep 10 fights a year there. So that's what they're going to do.
And they allowed fans in there, a limited amount of fans in there now.
More now than before. Yeah. So they did expand it, and so there are more.
Well, that means they're getting ticket revenue now on top of the other stuff.
Yeah, they sell cocktails in there. And I think a ticket's probably $1,200. I don't know. I've been invited a couple times, but I'm too busy working and on the computer watching fights. I can't be somewhere with popcorn and a soda pop watching fights.
Trying to make your notes while you're doing it.
I wouldn't know what to do. No, I do a lot of live gambling too.
Yeah. So you're trying to figure that out while you're there. I guess you could hear the corners, talking and be like, okay, I heard that one. I'm going to do this.
No, that's the one advantage of the Apex fights is even the fighters will tell you it feels more like practice.
Yeah.
You can feel
you
can hear their feet shuffling around on the canvas and everything.
Yeah, just watching it, you can hear all that. A guy can just casually be like, block that shot. The other guy's hearing it too as he's connecting on a shot. You're hearing that one corner say, knock out, stop that left-hand hook there. And so they're both hearing it.
Sometimes
and
the fighter will bark back at the corner like Davalishvili has done. And so, Steve, what that tells me is Steve's watching and paying attention. That's great. We've made a UFC fan out of Steve in 2 years.
I enjoy it. Now, the White House card, I had to go back and rewatch it with the sound. I had to watch it with the sound off because I was doing my Rattlers duties and stuff. And everything. So I had to go back later on. I saw the main event live.
The music was great.
And stuff like that. So I had to go back and watch it live. But generally, I sit there, Lou. I plan, you can ask Autumn. I sit there and go, hey, UFC starts at this time. I got to sit there and have a pad and paper in front of me and I make my notes.
Who doesn't like to watch competitive good fights?
Well, that's the thing. As long as I'm still at that early stage where there's some fights where I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna go mow the lawn.
Right, go make a Sammy. Go get yourself a nice cold beverage.
This one's a dud. I'm gonna get out, and then I come back and somebody's laying on the ground unconscious, and I'm like, what just happened? So that is the other side I've learned is don't give up on them early.
That's true.
When they go, but hey, I know it's a letdown this week with the Meta Apex in terms of what we saw last week. But there's a lot of, as you were going through it actually and talking, I was like, oh, I know more of these fighters. This is the first Apex card where I actually know a lot of the fighters on here compared to before.
And Steve, profit's profit. I never know when I'm going to have a big night or not. I didn't know what would happen last week. You know what I'm saying? Especially
if you knew, you'd be a rich man.
And so you got to approach each one respectfully. Yeah. But I will say my selections are going down this week. I'm going to have probably only 3.
Yeah, three on that side.
And we'll see. Try and 2-1, make a little money, knock that deficit down, keep going. Sometimes in business, it's the 17th of the month, and I just paid the electric bill, I paid my rent, I paid the trash men, and so I'm showing a deficit that day. Looks bad, but at the end of the month, we had income come in throughout and by the end of the month, you're looking okay. If you're running a business, you can't get upset over a lost week or two. You got to know that you just keep grinding it out. Over the course of time, you'll be okay. But you have to minimize loss as much as you have to maximize your profit, just like any business does.
Yeah, and then just to look ahead here, next week, so this week's Meta Apex next week is over in Azerbaijan.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's the 9 a.m. main card here. Coming up next week, 9 a.m. main card here.
Baby, they're going to have us on our toes, Stevie
boy. It's not as early as that one that started at 1 in the morning.
Who's that main fight?
That is Fizev and Torres.
Fiziev
that's
and
right.
who?
Torres.
Manuel Torres. Oh, baby, that's going to be a striking match. That should be awesome.
And then there's an off week for July 4th. And then if it's still going to happen,
Connor.
Yeah, Connor and Holloway, too, coming up.
We'll see.
After that. So I know we're still all waiting. Interesting enough, the fight after that one, July 18th, I know we're going out here, Oklahoma City, to be determined as the main event on that card on the UFC's fight right now as well. So that's the Cannonier Leroy Duncan fight that I'm assuming is the main event, right? But they have it listed as TBD.
God, they give Jared Cannonier just terrible,
but they have the final one as TBD still. But that is that fight. I'm like, why wouldn't that be the main event?
It might be.
They just haven't put it into that stat unless they have something working behind the scenes.
Who knows?
Dana White and his little shenanigans.
That's 4 weeks out right now. I'm worried about Cop and Horiguchi, bro.
Well, Lou, have a great weekend.
Thanks,
we'll
Steve-o.
see you next week, of course, for everybody else. We're off for the next 3 days. We'll be back on Monday. Come and join us then, of course, after your weekend. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy your Father's Day, everybody, for those of you that are fathers. And I think, Sunday.
I don't have to cook.
The kids come over and cook?
I don't know.
Somebody cooks. Better be
One day.
something good for Uncle Lou. You better take care of him. We'll see y'all next week. Everybody have a great weekend. See you on Monday.